myself from Love Sovereign Thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy Mango, South Florida. And today's date, Friday, September 21st, 2018. So let us begin. Ooh, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Just another day in paradise, I would say, right? First day of fall. Ooh, well, still warm in South Florida. That's just how it goes. I'm at Stash, located at 107 Southwest 2nd Avenue in the heart of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Hemisphere District to be exact, which is adjacent with adjacent to Revolution Live in America's backyard. Yeah, so let me do my show here, which is cool. Good folks, good vibe. Little coffee place. They have little, some nice entertainment here now and then. So just come on down. Don't be shy. Check it out. Tell them, look, the third sent ya. Yeah, let's get some music in the background. Hopefully it doesn't interfere with my show. Black's okay. So, so I decided to do another episode in reference to Cody Wilson. And this came out from The Guardian. Interesting here. Says here, 3D gun rights activist detained in Taiwan over underage sex claim. So, and this came out today in Reuters in Austin, Texas, and Taipei, Taiwan. It says here, Texan running a 3D printed gun company who flew to Taiwan as police investigated an accusation that he had sex with an underage girl was apprehended in Taipei on Friday after U.S. authorities annulled his passport, officials said. Cody Wilson, 30, was taken to immigration authorities in the capital by officers from the Taiwan's Criminal Investigation Bureau, according to the local Mirror reports. An official from the bureau who asked not to be named. However, two Taiwanese officials denied Wilson was arrested, were in custody. His exact status was unclear. Wilson, who was at the center of the U.S. legal battle over his plan to publish instructions for the manufacture of 3D printed plastic guns, flew into Taiwan legally. The country's National Immigration Agency said in a statement on Friday because his U.S. passport was later annulled. The agency statement said he no longer has legal status to stay in Taiwan. A lawyer for Wilson, as the representatives of the Austin Police Department and U.S. Marshal Service, were not immediately available for comment on Friday. Taiwan does not have any extradition treaty with the United States. Austin police had said Wilson flew to Taiwan earlier this month after a friend told him officers were investigating an allegation by a 16-year-old girl who said she was paid $500 to have sex with him at a hotel in the Texas capital. Yeah, meet Sugar Daddy site. Police said investigators interviewed the girl and on Wednesday obtained a warrant for Wilson's arrest, but he'd flown to Taiwan by then. Police said they are aware that Wilson's travels often for business, but that they did not know why he went to Taiwan. Wilson is the founder of Defense Distributed, the focus of a legal and political battle over his placing on the internet blueprints for plastic guns that can be made with a 3D printer. The files could previously be downloaded for free, but a federal judge issued a nationwide injunction last month that blocked the posting of the blueprints online. Gun control proponents are concerned that such weapons will be untraceable, undetectable, ghost firearms that pose a threat to global security. See, gun control proponents, I can tell you this, are nothing more than wannabe control fiends. And I say that in good faith. Some gun rights groups say the technology is expensive, the guns are unreliable, and the threat is overblown. It's interesting because I did that one show last week. Past episode pertaining to this. How does the girl, 16-year-old, went to the police or got the police to cooperate with the police on this matter? Because even with a site like that, it was you have to be 18 years old, okay, to be on these particular sites. So is this a possible entrapment game? Many just, I am pretty surprised. I am surprised it is. I won't be surprised that it is. And and plus, I had one comment from a person who's considered to be a sex worker and believes she should be arrested for felony charges and Wilson to be on a misdemeanor. And there's some merit behind it because, like I said, I won't be surprised if this person got caught. So she's going to try to quote-unquote cooperate for leniency. But based on her possible credibility, it may not be that great in the court of law. So it's one of those areas you have to really look at. I'm just, like everything is timing too. Like, let's get this person one way or the other. Like I said before, he's innocent till proven guilty, not the other way around. Regardless, it's a sexual assault, so it's not really not statutory rape. So it's like it says here, from a couple days ago, from The Guardian, talking about Cody Wilson on the 19th by Lois Beckett. Gun rights activist Cody Wilson charged with sexual assault of teen. So the charges have been filled. So like I said, my episode was before that. So it says here, Texas gun rights activists whose quest to spread the availability of 3D printed guns sparked a legal battle has been charged with sexually assaulting a 16-year-old girl and appears to have gone on the run. A warrant was issued on Wednesday for the arrest of Cody Wilson. Texas police are now working with national and international law enforcement partners to locate gun rights activists whose last known location was Taipei, Taiwan, and Austin police officials said. Wilson massaged an underage girl through the website SugarDaddyMeat.com, had sex with her in an Austin, Texas hotel on 15th of August 2018 and gave her $500 according to an affidavit by police detective filed in Travis County District Court on Wednesday. Wilson, 30, identified to the young victim and told her he was a big deal, according to the affidavit. So, young victim, okay? Young victim that paid to have sex. Interesting. So, it's the victim. Okay, I'll continue on here. Wilson was informed by a friend of the victim that police were investigating him for having sex with a minor, and he missed and scheduled a flight back to the U.S. Commander Troy Officer of the Austin Police Department's Organized Crime Division, and set a press conference on Wednesday. Police obtained a footage of Wilson and the victim in the hotel on 15th of August and matched the photograph on SugarDaddyMeat.com profile to Wilson's driver's license photo, according to the affidavit. According to the detectives who interviewed the alleged victim, if someone mistakes her age, it's because she thinks she's younger, not older than 16-year-old she is. Wilson has been charged with second-degree felony that's punishable to 2 to 20 years in prison, officers said. While he is best known as a gun rights activist, Wilson also founded Hatred, a now-defunct website that allowed neo-Nazis, white nationalists, and other extremist figures to solicit over crowdfunding online. So look at this. So they're going to say this man is a solicitor and supports neo-Nazis and white nationalists and other extremist figures. So this is a real dangerous man. But I will just continue on here. Wilson's advocacy for 3D printing guns had made him a minor celebrity in the tech circles for years. In 2012, when he was 24, Wired magazine named him one of the 15 most dangerous people in the world. While Wilson did not invent the concept of 3D plastic guns, as the magazine noted, he had made himself their most prominent media-savvy international defender. He framed his efforts to refine a 3D printed plastic guns and make blueprints for these guns widely available as a free speech issue. In 2013, after Wilson uploaded a plan for the 3D printed gun to the website of Defense Distributed, a group he founded, the State Department ordered him to take the plans down. Defense Distributed claimed at the time the plans had already been downloaded more than 100,000 times. This summer, in the wake of the several high-profile mass shootings, Wilson announced that his protracted legal battle with the State Department had been settled in his favor, and that Defense Distributed would repost the plans for 3D printed guns on August 1st. In celebration, he tweeted an image of the bouquet of flowers resting in front of a supposed memorial to American gun control. Gun control organizations and Democratic lawmakers reacted to Wilson's announcement with outrage and high-profile campaigns to stop him from publicizing the plans. A group of state attorneys sued Wilson to block the publication of the blueprint, so they started crying and bickering away. Hours before Wilson said his plans wouldn't be made public, a U.S. district judge issued a temporary restraining order stopping them from being shared. On 27 August, a judge extended the ban with a preliminary injunction blocking the publication of blueprints. Wilson told reporters in late August he was finding ways around the injunction to share the plans for a small fee rather than posting them free of charge online. Defense Distributed websites urged supporters to back their legal fight with financial donations. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which monitors American hate groups, lists Wilson's Defense Distributed group among other anti-government extremists based on Wilson's stated anti-government beliefs. So, oh my goodness, it means we have to trust the government, Southern Poverty Law Center? Yeah. I know that's why it's so weak and pathetic and disgusting. As far as I'm concerned, when I first heard Morris Dees' rhetoric, you guys made a great movie about him, but you know what? You folks are so desperate, okay? That's why I don't respect the Southern Poverty Law Center. They're nothing more than a bunch of charlatans that want to take away everyone's natural-born rights and be numbers instead of natural-born individuals. I will continue on here. Wilson has made a consistent point of aligning himself with the luminaries of anti-government hate movements in the U.S. Keegan Honks, an SPLC senior research analyst, told The Guardian, knowing that he typically places affiliations with groups off as coincidental to his crypto-anarchist ambitions. Last year, in the wake of the white nationalist violence in Charlottesville, Virginia, Wilson told Talking Points memos that the site was a passion project, claimed he devoted $12,000 a month of his own money to support it. Wilson further described himself as sympathetic to the alt-right, though not right-wing himself. He said he had found it hindering the so-called alt-right could have a legal in this conversation to be banished from the internet. What's interesting about that, too, everyone knows who heard my show enough times what I viewed the whole thing on Charlottesville. I don't have to repeat it. Just listen to my past episodes on that. You can make your own judgment. But the truth of the matter is, friends, this is pretty strange indeed. Like, it's okay to have minors on SugarDaddyMeat.com. That's called exceptionalism. And so, and I'm not condoning this particular practice. All right, I find it unacceptable, statutory rape, but based on they call it sexual assault instead because there's no really merit behind the statutory rape. However, he's still innocent until proven guilty, no ends ifs or buts, and everyone's gonna speculate, assume, and all that, which is your motives, not mine. I can make my own pinpoints. If he did this, yeah, I ain't gonna condemn it. However, it's got to be proven in a court of law, and everything's so like coincidental when you see about the gun rights and so forth. Oh, let's gun for him right now on this particular matter. Well, one thing I gotta say is, hopefully, this case, in good faith, will be thrown out through judicial due process. If so, if he's guilty, it has to be the same matter, judicial due process. So, he's innocent to proven guilty. It's still called allegations, and we have to leave it at that. So you can give me intakes on the other sites. I will post on my speaker page, and I did a couple of them out there from YouTube on the last episode, and I do appreciate your viewpoints. I think it's honorable, and I can say that. So thank you for your time here, and I'll be right back. Alright, cool, I am back. All right, so next one here. I made a promise I was going to talk about this, but it's been a while. But so this one here came from the why they won't get involved. Children under a silent church, part 3. Yeah, so here's the continuation. I remember I did the first 2 parts on my show last week, and as it reads here, this is by Roger Angus. What doesn't help is when our judicial system attempts to force situations on our children. There doesn't appear to be any opposition. In Kansas City, a judge has decided that boys and girls will share gender-neutral bathrooms. If this is not a judicial overreach of biblical proportions, I don't know what is. No more separate restrooms for boys and girls, with rows of feet-showing stalls. The Kansas City School District is going fully gender-neutral at 2 new elementary schools on opening on Wednesday, as well as a few renovated restrooms in North Kansas City High School and the 6th grade centers. The bathrooms still have an open alcove area with the common trough sink, but the toilets are enclosed inside individual stalls with floor-to-ceiling walls and lockable doors. A single sign on the wall outside displays both male and female symbols. Link these. What else is complicated is the total acceptance of this insanity by the schools and the parents. We had such positive feedback from students and parents. Rochelle Daniels, Executive Director of Organizational Development for the district. Since then, we have decided to replicate the concept of any new construction that include a newly built Rising Hill Elementary on Northeast 108th and Northview Elementary on North Indiana Avenue, as well as renovations at North Kansas City High and Eastgate and Gateway 6th grade centers. I think it's great, says Malene Austin, whose daughter will be a first grader at the district Crestview Elementary and in gifted classes once a week at the Innovation Center. You don't know what gender a kid might identify as. This helps everyone to feel comfortable, accepted. What? Any parent that is willing to expose their child to this type of abuse, and the abuse is just what it is, they should not be allowed to raise a child. Our society has forgotten so far out of line from the founding principles that we are hard to recognize. Our founders would ask us why we have gone so far away from the foundation that made us great. As I have stated probably hundreds of times or better over the last 15 years, the reason we have gone down the path that we are on is complete failure of organized religion to stand strong for the Word of God. They have allowed sin to be called sickness. Life that contradicts the Word of God now are called viable alternative lifestyles. I was concerned about this Kansas City ruling, so I contacted several churches in the Kansas City area to find out what they were doing to oppose this threat to the children in their public schools. I was completely shocked, but not really surprised at the response I got. I contacted 8 different churches to find out their stance on that ruling and what, if any, they were going to do to combat it. Not a single church was aware that this ruling has been made. Not one. I firmly believe that this is because the church has gotten so far away from the political arena out of the fear of the IRS and fear of offending one side of the aisle or the other, that they have no clue as to what is being done and the rights of theirs are being violated. 1 out of 8 churches I called was able to speak with someone at 2 of the churches. I left messages at all 8 churches explaining why I was calling and why would like to speak with someone who would give me the church's position on this court overreach and what, if anything, they were going to do to protect their children. At World Rival Church,
I called 3 times. I never received a return phone call through the messages were left in the associated pastor and the senior pastor. At Linwood United Church, I left messages and never received a return call. At International House of Prayer, I left messages but never received a return call. At the Cause Church, again, I left messages but never received a return call. At Resurrection Downtown, I left messages and did get a return call from Pastor Scott. He could not state the church's position on this court's ruling. He was not the senior pastor, but still, how, as a pastor, can he not be the same aware of the church's position on requiring boys and girls to share the same bathrooms as he told me? But he also told me that he could not state that position if he knew it. And that has to be done by the communications director, Kathy Bin, whom I called, left 2 messages and never received a return call. Good grief. It's like, what, people can't speak for themselves here? A community church, I left a message for Pastor Ryan, an associate pastor, but never received a return call. On my 3rd call, I was spoken. The receptionist almost with disgust saying, "We don't comment to journalists." She will not let me leave another message. What? Look, there's a bunch of cowards out here, you know what I'm saying? At the Rock, 3 messages were, but I never returned at the Rock, 3 messages were, but I never received a return call. At Christ Community, 3 messages were left, but never received a return call. I believe that it is easy to see why our government gets away with so many of these things to get away with. The church, which is supposed to be the entity that keeps the government filled with godly men and women, according to Exodus 18:21, has miserably failed, and that failure has put the Christian community and our children in a not spiritual danger, but physical danger, and put America on a path that will be very difficult to reverse. It's hard to fathom how the church can be so calloused as to be more concerned about political correctness and keeping our most precious possession, our children, safe from sexual perverts. The trend is seeping into many different areas, and now we hear peep out of the church as it happens. I should not be a real surprise as here in my home state of Colorado we passed a law a few years back. SB 200 allows boys to use girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, and showers if he identifies as a girl. Girls can use boys' facilities if they indemnities as a boy. There has been only one stance where there was some opposition, but the media kept it quiet. My lost installment will cover the cases of debauchery the church is deafening the silence about. There's footnotes on here too, and I don't care what your belief system is, folks. This is very treacherous. And don't be surprised if there's sexual assault, rape scandals in these schools in Kansas City and Colorado, because they let these little policies and laws dictate. Just gets more insane by the minute, by the day, right? What are you folks going to be doing about it in your neck of the woods? Sit there belly up, live in fear, or stand up for what's right? This is, you have to look at yourselves, including myself. Be proactive or just dumb, stagnant, and happy. Well, one more thing here. This one came out yesterday from Raging Nonviolence. And this one's entitled How Grassroots Activists Made Peace with North Korea Possible. Sarah Freeman Wolpert. And as it reads here, in April it was a handshake. On Tuesday it was a hug. One might end the 70-year-long war. Leaders of North and South Korea meeting in Pyongyang this week to discuss the possibility of a peace treaty to end the decades-long conflict dividing the Korean peninsula. This marked the third meeting between North Korean President Kim Jong-un and South Korean President Moon Jae-in. since April, when the leaders famously shook hands across the demilitarized zones, or DMZ, separating the two countries. After a swell of global optimism at warming relations between Kim and Moon, attention shifted to Donald Trump's meeting with June meeting with Kim in Singapore. Despite the peace community's hope for increased diplomacy following the summit's vague yet optimistic outcome, many voices on both sides of the aisle in Congress, as well within Trump's own administration, have since disparaged the possibility of peace. Why is that? The military-industrial complex, right? Contrary to the frequent inflammatory rhetoric from leaders in Washington and the media, North Korea has made modest concessions since June, such as dismantling of certain missile launch sites. In this week's meeting, Kim has agreed to allow international experts to observe a permanent dismantling of a missile test site and nuclear facility. Despite these steps toward diplomacy, many government leaders are still demanding the immediate and complete denuclearization of North Korea, and they're doing so without offering any assurance that the United States won't invade. At the same time, they are also refusing to announce the end of the Korean War, mostly due to fears that it could lead to a withdrawal of the 28,500 American troops stationed on the peninsula, even though Moon has dispelled such concerns. Amid the clamor and saber rattling, however, a steady, persistent grassroots peace movement is working hard to counter the negativity by influencing stakeholders behind the scenes, building new coalitions, and reframing the narrative to promote negotiations as a difficult but worthwhile process. This movement has risen fire and fury to the chart way toward a lasting peace on the Korean Peninsula. I say nothing wrong with that. A lot of good people from both sides suffer from this ordeal for a very long time, even before the conflict has occurred. I will continue on here. Building coalitions. Among the most important developments for the peace movement in the last year is formation on broad coalitions. According to the international scholar activist Simon Chun, in 2018 marked the first time we saw a formidable, sustained coalition with the major peace activists and the Korean activist communities. These coalitions have allowed actors to coordinate strategically in pushing for clear goals like formal declaration ending the Korean War and sustained diplomacy on a path to peace. These coalitions have also been key in elevating the range of voices, particularly those of Koreans, women, and the people of color, who have often been marginalized from the mainstream policy debates in Washington, D.C. Korea Peace Network, or KPN, is one of the U.S.-based coalitions promoting peace on the Korean Peninsula. Spearheaded by the American Foreign Service Committee, Peace Action, and Korean American peace activist Christine Ahn, KPN works to educate and organize Korean peace activists around the country, from bird dogging congressional candidates to hosting webinars and strategized sessions. In June, the network organized an action called KPN Advocacy Days, which saw a group of advocates from KPN visit Capitol Hill to meet with key legislators like the members of armed service committees to promote negotiations with North Korea. I think it's important that Koreans decide the fate for the peninsula, said Korean American activist Kwon Nam. With only 50 miles separating Seoul from the DMV and 25 million people living within 100 miles from the DMV itself. Kwon described the possibility of war as devastating for Koreans. We cannot afford any kind of war, he added. My aunts live near the DMZ. My older brothers live in Seoul. So when I see the possibility of war growing, I get really scared. Kwon mobilized around 20 Korean organizations throughout the United States into a network called One Korea Now. So they could put a better support each other's efforts to advocate for peace. This mobilization became more effective once they partnered with larger, more established organizations like Peace Action, which formed during the anti-nuclear movement in the 1950s and has a wider national network of its own. It is important to try to lift up those people who have much more expertise and more at stake for the families. If there were a war on the Korean Peninsula, said Peace Action President Kevin Martin. At the same time, however, Kwon
found it uniquely challenged to incorporate some parts of the Korean American community into this peace work. Korean-speaking Korean Americans are somewhat isolated in the people in the Korean American community. He said, we are working with the largest peace organization in the United States, but a lot of Korean Americans never heard the names of these groups. My role is to get Korean-speaking Korean Americans more engaged with the general peace movement in the United States, and to think of Korean peace in terms of global peace movement. Recent organizing for peace on the Korean Peninsula has also underscored the importance of women-led organizations and mobilizing public support for peace. Women Cross DMZ is one of the leading groups in this movement, along with partners like the women-led activist group Code Pink. Sometimes you see Code Pink, they're a little bit established, so but I'll continue on here. Headed by Korean American peace activist Christine An, Women Cross DMZ launched its efforts in 2015 by leading an international delegation of 30 women in a walk across the DMZ, followed by international peace symposiums in Pyongyang and Seoul. In May 2018, the group sent another women's delegation to Korea in partnership with the Noble Women's Initiative and Women's Peace Walk. While there, the organizers convened all women's symposium, met with the key stakeholders, and called for a peace treaty and a historic crossing of the reunification bridge. Not only have these coalition-building efforts raised attention and public awareness, they've also raised much-needed funding. Women's Cross DMV, Noble's Women's Initiative, and Peace Women were the recipients of a $2 million grant supporting women-led campaigns, pushing for the viable peace process by 2020. Part of this funding will be allocated to a network of South Korean women working for peace, elevating their voices in an ongoing public debate about the Korean peace process. In a moment when we felt stuck, the fact that women's groups began the process to break through this deadlock really shows the power of what peace movements can do, especially what women's peace groups can do. On said, she also emphasized the important role women's organizations have played in challenging those demanding total and immediate disarmament by stating clearly that they should be as such. Attention on diplomacy and steps towards signing a formal peace treaty, and there is on denuclearization. Still, despite the breadth of this coalition building working, Women Across DMZ has faced challenges, particularly when it comes to gaining proper attention within the broader peace community, which has focused much of its attention on the Middle East, even after President Barack Obama's so-called Asia pivot. In some ways, I feel the peace movement has really failed to look at the shift in the U.S. military war policy, explained pointing to the overlooked South Korean protests of U.S. military bases. The Korean Peninsula has provided a way to shift our attention, but we're so far behind what we need to be as a global anti-war and peace movement. Peace Action President Kevin Martin echoed this concern, but suggested that the problem is even more widespread. We're in denial about the militarism of our society, he said. There are conferences bringing together all progressive movements, but they leave out peace. And it's a shame. This is why a person like myself, when it comes to the empire, I boldly oppose it. Like Ron Paul, I agree with former Congressman Ron Paul has to say, bring all our troops home. We don't need to patrol the world. And I have to agree on that. So here, influencing key stakeholders. 40 years popular movements have demanded peace, democracy, and human rights in the Korean Peninsula, including the 1979 workers' demonstration in Busan, the Gwangju uprising in 1980, and the campaign direct presidential elections in 1987. In many ways, these uprisings culminated in 2016 with the South Korean Candlelight Revolution. This movement, which drew over 16 million people, denounced the corruption of then-President Park Geun-hye and paved the way to elect Moon Jae-in, a president determined to prioritize peace on the Korean Peninsula. Moon has marked departure from
from previous South Korean leaders' provocative rhetoric over North Korea's nuclear and missile testing programs, returning to the Sunshine Policy of South Korea's last two progressive presidents. In doing so, he has emphasized economic projects and cultural exchange between the two countries, like building the railways to connect the peninsula and arranging family reunions, hosting joint sports matches with North and South Koreans. There have been numerous public events promoting reconciliation, like the Pyeongchang Olympic Games in February, which both teams marched under a single flag and played a unified women's hockey team. Since the election, Moon's efforts to promote peace with North Korea have extended far beyond the two countries' bilateral relationship. Trump has asked Moon to serve as the chief negotiator for the third Inter-Korean Summit in September. This role is not only a testament to Moon's diplomatic skills, but highlights the credibility he has built as a key factor in the negotiating process. As with Moon's election, the peace movement has an important role to play in influencing key stakeholders within the key Korean peace process, including members of Congress. North Korea is a long-term marathon issue, says Charles Rozier of the Mennonite Central Committee, a Christian organization which advocates for peace and humanitarian relief around the world, including North Korea, which there was very little we could advocate for within the Obama administration's policy of strategic patience. Now there's more space, more possibility, but it's still so volatile. The involvement of faith-based organizations like Mennonite Central Committee and the Friends Committee on Nationalization, or FCNL, has been influential in pressuring stakeholders by finding common ground with legislators in Washington. FCNL has mobilized a network of 1,500 people across the country in the grassroots advocacy teams to lobby their congressional representatives. Full disclosure, the author of this piece work for FCNL's advocacy teams program. These teams are promoting legislation that would require congressional authorization for any war with North Korea, as opposed to a unilateral decision by the president. According to FCNL North Korea specialist Anthony Weir, a congressional vote for war would make war less likely, as it would be a huge gamble for anyone running for re-election. Pursuing this goal of grassroots of the legislative pressure, advocacy team have incorporated a creative tactics, giving out homemade bubble bath or bath bombs at their local farmers market, and the company signs read "bath bombs, not atomic bombs," seeking signatures on a petition for the members of Congress to support the legislation. Efforts to influence stakeholders in Washington has faced the predictable challenges of political partnership, the force driving many leaders in the Democratic Party to decry negotiations and draw down on U.S. troops in South Korea, despite misgiving about the Trump administration commitment to follow through on peace negotiations. Leader advocacy of peace treaty with North Korea says it makes more strategic sense to acknowledge when the administration is ostensibly taking steps in the direction of peace. The partisan bitterness is particularly of Democrats, who would support diplomacy is a real and ongoing challenge, Martin said. Save your energy to fight Trump on any other issue. It is a right to be skeptical. The Singapore summit didn't produce a lot of specifics, but compared to last fall when we were threatening nuclear war, we're in a much better place. Nam echoed these sentiments, adding, "We have to take the peace whenever we can. We always talk about give peace a chance. Now liberals and progressives who have been promoting for peace for the last 100 years should give peace a chance. For real this time, even if it comes from Trump." All shared the same frustration, recounting the two leading members of Congress, both advocates of the resistance, introduced legislation intended to hamper the president's ability to reduce the U.S. troops in South Korea. How is that resistance when it just maintains militarization of South Korea and foreign occupation of another country? Comparing the situation to Richard Nixon's talks with China, all described refusal to engage the Trump administration on matters of peace as huge missed opportunities. He's wrong on everything else, but this is a sweet spot. She said, give them credit to what no other president has done, hopefully to end the Korean War. And he's right, and the person's right. You can't argue with that at all. While Many dismiss this view as wishful thinking or simply naive. The peace community believes incremental and tangible concessions from North Korea in exchange for economic and diplomatic incentives is a far more realistic path to peace than demand and full dismantling of their nuclear program before they see any benefits. According to Martin, the voices of the Korean Americans can be quite impactful. It's very important for Korean Americans to say, hey, Dems, we understand that you hate Trump and oppose to do everything he does, but this is about what Koreans want. I like that. Ultimately, Martin's point underscores the necessity of building a peace movement and peace process that centers Koreans, the most direct stakeholders on this issue. I never seen so much unity among Korean Americans around this peace process, Chun said. When I meet young people, I realize it's a very different generation. Their participation is very important because they're the ones who will lead the future. We are recentering Koreans' role and voices in the peace process could create friction between South Korea and the United States, as exemplified by Moon's Liberation Day speech delivered last month. The speech laid out a plan for greater economic integration between North and South Korea, declaring, "We are the protagonist in Korean Peninsula-related issues." All celebrate the statement, saying, "For me, that feels like we are in a moment." This is a process that is moving irrespective of the United States. Now we have to put in the time and the sweat to really make it happen. And I have to agree completely on this. So I'll keep on going here. Reaffirming the narrative as evidenced by Moon's liberation speech, language is helping to shape public opinion in favor of the peace process, with 90% of South Koreans supporting dialogue. Leaders of the peace movement are trying to do the same in the United States, where a small majority, about 70%, supports talks with North Korea. Such support is hampered by Trump's low approval ratings and his distrust of Kim Jong-un. We need to shift talks about foreign policy away from the Cold War white man framework, said. I'm so offensive. I'm doing what? One way of doing this is by giving a human face to this issue. Already, family reunifications and joint North-South soccer matches are taking place on the Korean Peninsula, something most Americans don't even know about. The peace movement should be helping to amplify these messages, said. Ultimately, according to Chun, it's been about forging a narrative that is less about denuclearization and more about Koreans determining their own path towards peace. Everything is centered around whether North Korea will give up its nuclear weapons, Chun said. For Koreans, this is about the ability to shape the future of their country. Many more Korean Americans are seizing opportunity to make this own, while at the same time also providing a model for the rest of America on how to shift the narrative. Before the North and South Korean leaders met on April 27th, reunification was so taboo. It was a taboo issue, Kwan said. It took a lot of courage to discuss North and South Korean reunification in the Korean American community. If you talk about it, it will be labeled a communist, a pro-North Korean sympathizer. Now it's something everybody talks about. This widening of citizen engagement and action can only be a good thing for advocates of the peace process. The more people come together in support of peace of the Korean Peninsula, the harder it becomes for world leaders to deny it to them. And absolutely correct. This is, like I said, the Korean people as well have to make this decision on what they want, and things are happening, which is fantastic. People want to live in prosperity in that peninsula as a whole, and many of the neocons may not like it, but you know what? Who gives a damn what they think? Because they're nothing more than warmongering demagogues or demonods, and throw them in the front line. Let's see how tough these people are, especially Hillary Clinton. Just to give you an example. We're talking about Marco Rubio enough times. But I think this is a really positive thing, what Grassroots can do. how things make impact, and it takes a period of time. And I do pay homage to these individuals for keeping the movement going. It makes me feel good too, because there's people out there that do give a damn on what's going on. You hear, oh, no one cares, no one cares. You know what? Because you hang out with the same negative clowns, you're gonna get negative results. Be around the folks that have a bigger cause and positive influence on others. You can inspire people to do better. No excuses by any means. It's up to every individual to choose those decisions. And this one right here, I'm very pleased. Even the Korean American communities, young people, want to see this happen. And even a person like myself, a white man, Hungarian descent, supports it as well. I'm not offended about the white thing. All right. So that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout the social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or if you're saying something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondence with decorum. I will post all my social media sites and email contacts on my Spreaker page. In addition, that is it. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance, healthy for the soul, and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.